It's the day after Liberation Day, and here's the perspective from both sides, starting with the left. The US economy and the world economy is in shambles following Trump's Liberation Day yesterday. The US stock market hit its worst day since June of 2020 during the COVID crash. The Dow today lost nearly 4% of its total value, down more than 1,600 points. The NASDAQ down nearly 6%, and the S&P plunged nearly 5%. For those of you who aren't involved in the markets, a falling stock market means companies will slow investments and fire workers. And already today, Stellantis, which is the car company that owns Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Chrysler, laid off 900 American workers in Michigan and Indiana, and they directly cited these tariffs as the reason why. You see, our supply chains are integrated with the world. We receive about $3.89 trillion of imports every year, and yesterday, Trump put in, on average, 22% tariff on those imports. That tariff is paid directly by American companies when they import products. So it's essentially a tax on businesses, which will cut into their profit. Now, most of them will certainly raise prices to offset this cost, and the ones who can't, though, will have to eat the tariff tax themselves, which will leave these companies with less money to invest in growth, which will lead to layoffs. Tariffs are a degrowth and inflationary strategy. This is known, and Trump tried to use this BS claim yesterday that these are reciprocal tariffs, and that could not be further from the truth. Yesterday, he held up this sheet showing what tariffs other countries charge us and saying because of that, we will charge them half of what they charge us, so it's fair. The only issue is he completely made up the numbers that other countries are charging us. They're all made up, and a perfect example is Israel. A couple days before Liberation Day, Israel announced they're removing all tariffs on the US, yet Trump's infographic says they charge us a 33% tariff. This is just obviously wrong. They charge us zero. They just changed it to 0%. It's the same though with every country. The EU does not charge us 39%. The World Trade Organization says it's closer to 5%. It turns out the way Trump calculated the tariff rate that supposedly other countries charge us was he used a simple completely made up formula. He took the country's trade deficit with the US and divided it by its total imports to the US. It's a total made-up calculation that is not seen anywhere in economics. Like, literally, the economists on TV are flustered. This has been confirmed, though, by the White House, and true for every country that this is the formula they use. So Trump lied. The rate has nothing to do with tariffs other countries are charging us. It has to do with how well those countries do with us in trade. Must I remind you that global trade is a voluntary process. We trade with countries because they make cheap quality products that our people love. Punishing those that succeed in trade with us is foolish and will just lead to higher prices for American consumers and a slowing economy. JP Morgan came out today with a study showing that these Trump tariffs are the largest tax increase since 1968. What happened to low-tax Republicans? Oh wait, Trump happened. That's the answer. Even Republican senators like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and John Kennedy are coming out against these tariffs because they know Trump is gambling with the US economy, and at least today, he lost. Big time. I will not deny that today was a hard day. Everything that the left perspective said is true. The thing is, though, this is all a part of the plan. No one in the Trump administration is freaking out. This is a necessary and known short-term pain for a long-term gain. You see, 5 million manufacturing jobs and over 60,000 manufacturing facilities have fled America in the last 20 years. This is because we opened up the world to free trade, and this allowed American companies to close American factories and lay off American workers so they can hire essentially slave labor in third world nations to build their products and then sell their products back in America at zero cost. You'd be a stupid company to build in America when there's kids in Vietnam working at $1 an hour. This offsourcing of labor is anti-American and immoral. These tariffs are put in place to remove that ability of companies to offshore production. We are trying to change the incentive structure to make it more profitable for American companies to build in America rather than China. Now, yes, because a lot of factories today are in Asia, these tariffs are causing pain to American companies. But these tariffs readjust the incentive scheme. So now there's going to be this readjustment period where companies will lose profits in the short term as they invest in relocating to America. But in the long term, the American middle class will be rebuilt like never before. There's a reason why the unions, even the ones who endorse Kamala Harris, like the United Auto Workers Union, are for these tariffs because they're good for the long-term success of the American middle class. And especially with robotics and AI, US manufacturing will become much cheaper and more efficient, which will offset the advantage these third world countries have through cheap labor. This is a readjustment that will cause short-term pain, but will, in the long run, give America its middle class back. Not to mention the fact that China produces 80% of our pharmaceuticals, solar panels, and rare earth elements, and those are just a few examples. It is a national security emergency to be dependent on our adversaries for critical production. So all I say is sit back, relax, enjoy the wave, and know in the long run, America will be back.